Uh, it's the Canadian Entertainment Podcast. What? Canadian Entertainment Podcast. It's the Canadian Entertainment Podcast, hosted by Ben Stagger. Hello, my name is Ben Stagger, and I would like to welcome you to the very first episode of the Canadian Entertainment Podcast. Now, you may remember me from a previous podcast called the Tim's Talkline, which was the world's very first Tim Hortons themed podcast. We are very proud of a run we did. It was about a 5-6 episode run. And yeah, kind of like when sometimes you get out before you've dragged it on a bit too long, that's how we felt with the Tim's Talkline. We felt enough was enough. We covered everything we needed to cover. And then I took about 2 to 3 to 4 years off of podcasting. Just took a little break. Thought I just focus on some other stuff. But the other stuff I focused on was the pursuit of Canadian entertainment. And I was going through the podcasts on Google. I was thinking to myself, well, is there a podcast about Canadian entertainment? Because I've been pursuing this thing for a couple of years now. I was pursuing it pre-podcast, but I then stopped the Tim's Talkline because I was like, okay, I really got to pursue this Canadian entertainment thing. And the other, I was just kind of stuck today. I was thinking, okay, well, maybe, there's some advice out there for Canadian entertainers, or just a podcast about the Canadian entertainment landscape. And I was heartbroken to find out that there was not a single one. So I kind of felt like this was my duty to do this, and I'm not looking back, and this is going to be a regular thing this time because I feel like there's a lot of Canadian entertainers out there, and I just want to give the perspective of a Canadian entertainer to other Canadian entertainers and also the whole world and possibly other planets too if this reaches Starlink or whatever the heck they call that. But yeah, it's a pleasure for you to join me here. I am acting as my own producer, my own videographer, and my own writer, audio guy. And that, I feel like, is kind of a metaphor for the Canadian entertainment industry. But maybe entertainment industries all around the world, or just maybe that's the nature of industry these days, where you literally have to do everything. But that's fine. I'm not trying to complain. I'm just laying out the facts. Now, what are the facts these days? That's a very good question. What's real? What is fiction? That's a question I think every single one of us asks every single day. And I don't have an answer for you, right? Sometimes you truly do wish that everything in this world could be hooked up to a polygraph test. Not like, sometimes I wish I see a Facebook article that says John Bon Jovi is playing Kurt Cobain in the Kurt Cobain biopic. That's on my Facebook algorithm. And I wish I could hook that article up to a polygraph test and tell me whether or not that's true. But the technology's not there yet. And I hope one day it will be there. But anyways, thank you for joining me. This is the Canadian Entertainment Podcast. This is the inaugural episode. I'm so happy to be back to podcasting. I did try another podcast a couple months ago. I recorded a pilot episode, but the feeling wasn't there, so I decided to take a couple more months off. That one had that I was just saying some stuff, and I haven't listened to it back, but maybe that'll be a collector's, or it's in the vault right now, and we will open the vault in about 15 to 10 years. We will open the vault and we will release the Lost podcast episode from my podcast I recorded a couple months ago. 10 years from now, we will release that. It didn't have much of a direction, but this one does. I suppose I should introduce myself. My name is Ben Steiger. I am a Canadian entertainer. I perform comedy. I perform music and write music as well. And I'm a content creator. I also sometimes dabble in Photoshop and video editing. And I sometimes even do improv. And I would like to try out some more acting. And I've thought about taking a drawing class. I've started making my own comic. But, I think maybe that's the problem with me sometimes. And maybe this is the problem with a lot of people. Sometimes you just want to do everything, and it's hard to do one thing. But Bruce Willis had a music album, right? And he was also an actor. Bob Dylan has a book, but he's also a musician. And Michael Keaton used to do comedy, and now he's freaking Birdman. And he plays a villain in the Spider-Man movies. So maybe you can do it all. But maybe that's more of an American thing, not a Canadian thing. Like, we don't always let our entertainers do what they want. For example, Neil Young. Neil Young, folk musician. But then when he tried starting his own MP3 player company, everyone laughed in his face. And I would say, you know what? If that was anywhere else in the world, that MP3 player would have been embraced and used by the leader of that nation. But no one gave a crap. Stephen Harper, who was our prime minister at the time, did not support Neil Young's MP3 pursuit. And I certainly hope that Neil is continuing hammering away at that pursuit, because we cannot let this industry bring us down. No, we cannot. But yes, I am pursuing entertainment, one entertaining thing at a time. I 2 months ago, I released my second music album in the past 2 years. In the year 2023, I released an album called Canadian Singer-Songwriter. And this year, I released an album called The Law of Song. And you know what? The thing is every year for the past 2 years, I have really gone hardcore for about 4 to 5 months of my life, making an album on GarageBand, horrible audio quality, horrible microphone, horrible audio interface, and I always think to myself, past 2 times I've done it, I'm really gonna shop this around. I'm really gonna try to do something with it. But then I spend my whole life on it, and I release it, and I just release it. But also because I listened to it a couple times, and I'm like, I like the songs, but the recording quality, damn, man. The thing is sometimes, you know, back in the day, you were just allowed to play around in a studio, right? You're allowed to play around in a studio. So I don't know if I go to someone else and then record. But what if I want to play around? Then that's on someone else's time. But I'm just making excuses for myself. I really got to figure that out. But hey, I like the songs I released. But you know what I'm saying. Well, no, I'm proud of what I did, but at the same time, the medium is the message, right? And I don't know what the message was there, but I'm not trying to hate on myself. I'm just trying to learn, right? And that's what it's all about. And that is absolutely what it's all about. But ever since I released this album, I played some music shows and they were really fun. I played one at the Princess Cafe in Waterloo, Ontario, and it was a blast. I had Steve Dave on the show, who I think is a fantastic guy, and I really like his music. And it was a blast. And then I performed in Guelph at the venue Silence, Guelph, Ontario, with Eve Parker Finley, who I think is really awesome as well, and really funny. And it was just an awesome show. And I played a show at Tonight Bar in Toronto, Ontario, and my buddy Joel Edmondson opened her up, and I think he did a fantastic job. And that was kind of my 3-city tour for my music album thing. And now we still play the music at some shows. I played a show a couple last week, Collective Arts Toronto, and I played 2 unreleased tracks, and I played a song off my first album. The song is On Monday Life Feels Crazy. Didn't play any songs off the new album, okay? Because lots of those songs were a little serious. And there's nothing wrong with that. That's just what I felt like I had to throw out to the world at the time, right? I don't. At times I'll be walking down the street and I'll think to myself, "Oh man, oh you released an album with some very interesting, serious lyrical content." And I will I will put my hand in my face. And but I get over it. I'm trying to cut that out. Sometimes I feel like um I have a bunch of judges, Simon Cowell, Randy Jackson, Gordon Ramsay, Howie Mandel, Paul Abdul, um, Trish Stratus, Carnell Official. I feel like the and maybe everyone has a panel of judges in their brain at all times. I'm not trying to say this is a unique thing, but sometimes I feel like I'm on Canada's Got Talent at all times, uh, uh, through memories and and just daily life. I feel like I'm on Canada's Got Talent, and there's a show going on at all times, and it's always it's the judges are always giving feedback, you know. And that's something you just gotta get used to because that's life, right? Uh, what's life without judges, right? That's just absolute facts. Anyways, so I was also on Canada's Got Talent, which aired in April of 2024. And man, what a blast that was. I was happy that I got a long segment. I didn't make it to the next round, but I felt like I left a good impression, right? I still haven't watched my full audition yet because when I watched it with some friends and when I've been in the company of others while they've watched it, I usually put a shirt over my face and cover my ears. But um, from what I could hear from the muffled sounds, I, you know what? It was okay. It was fine. Honestly, it was kind of fun. It was fun. It was fun. It was fun and good. And overall, not too shabby, right? It was kind of funny and kind of a catchy song I sang up there. And so people have been asking for a recorded version of that song. And gosh, I wish I could have been faster with that. Sometimes maybe a quality of mine is I don't always strike when the iron's hot, or if the iron's hot, I do something completely not in the iron, like something that the iron shouldn't be doing. I don't always, I don't, I'm not the greatest business minded right now, but I have all intentions in the year 2024 to become incredibly business minded. My dad went to Wilfrid Laurier University for Business in the 70s, but he ended up becoming a teacher instead. But what I'm saying is he did graduate his program. Not sure if there's 3 or 4 years in the time, but you can only imagine that some of the degree has been passed on to me. Some of the lessons he learned, I think that's 100% possible. But yeah, you know, I really think that there should be a Mario game that takes place in Canada, right? That is one thing that we're missing. Sonic and Mario got to go to the Olympics, which, from my memory, were most likely in Salt Lake City, but I could be wrong. I have no one to check Wikipedia right now because I'm totally self. So when is what I think that's something we should get on right now. If you're a Canadian entertainer or you are just a fan of the podcast and you are just essentially trying to support you're somewhere else in the world, let's get a Mario game set in Canada, right? I'd even go maybe a Belleville stage, in a map on Mario Party, on the next Mario Party game, instead of giving us four freaking maps in the latest Mario Party games. You know what? I'm an adult. I shouldn't be playing these games, but I felt like I have been doing a bit of negative self-talking to open up this pod, so I simply cannot do that any longer. Now, it would be strange as a Canadian podcast, Canadian entertainment podcast, to not talk about the upcoming summer Canadian blockbusters, because every year in the summer, the Canadian film industry goes absolutely hog wild, and all the big Canadian films start coming out in the summer. Um, we're talking Oppenheimer from Canada's perspective last year. We're talking Canadian Barbie. Um, uh, what is pink but not red and white, which is the two, which is the colors that make Barbie's color. That was the subtitle of the Canadian Barbie film. Yeah, unfortunately those movies did not come out, but it would be cool if they would. We gotta get some Canadian summer blockbusters, right? What I was saying previously was a bit of I don't know. It could have been hyper sarcasm, but not really. It was kind of satire. That's what it was, perhaps. And that is what some people say on 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 TikTok comments. They say satire question mark, and I don't know. Sometimes you're just trying to be funny, right? Or just sometimes uh I don't know what I don't think people say that too much anymore in comments, say satire question mark. But it was a thing for a bit. But maybe also my views have gone down uh over the past few months, and I can only blame myself. um Not to be too self-critical, but sometimes I jump around from thing to thing. And sometimes I think to myself, well, it's all part of the package, right? It's a package deal. You get the en route videos. You get the Kitchener Waterloo content. You get the marriage advice. You get the you get the songs. You get the songs recorded on GarageBand with the Apex broken microphone. You get the whole package. So sometimes I think to myself, uh whatever, it's all part of the package. I gotta continue giving the package to the real ones. But then I don't know, you know? You you just gotta try it. I just got I'll continue doing the package, but I think I need to do more fan service, right? I was reading I've been reading this book, and oh, I don't know, I don't want to sound insane that I'm reading it, but as someone who is in the influencer sphere a bit, I have to dabble in influencing content creation. Not that I want influence, I don't know what, but I have been reading the book How to Win Friends and Influence People by Dale Carnegie. It was written, I think, in the 30s or the 20s, with some updates done by, I think, his kids or wife or grandchildren. And I want to read this book because I'm pretty sure my dad had this book. And maybe that was a required thing at Laurier Business School. Let me know if that's true. But I've been reading this book, How to Win Friends and Influence People. I just have to admit it. But one thing that was said in this book is, in negotiations or something like that, you have to think about what the other person wants and what you want. You can't just be thinking about what you want, and you can't just, I guess, be thinking about what they want. And I think maybe the problem is well, there's no problem, right? But no, just in terms of the view count, of course, is maybe I don't always give the fans what they want, right? But anyways, I appreciate you fans, and I'm gonna try my best for you on the For You page. Let's get this guy back on the For You page before the TikTok ban. I don't know if TikTok will be banned in Canada. We need to check in with Justin Trudeau on that. I have been seeing though recently, like Justin Trudeau is embracing Instagram Reels. Like he's making some interesting videos of him like surprising people. I saw one where he's surprising people, and I don't know what that's all about, but I guess everyone's just on IG Reels right now, which is cool, including Justin Trudeau. Everyone's doing it. I honestly hope that I don't know. I hope that potentially my parents maybe show an interest in creating IG Reels. That would be cool, but if they don't, I'm okay with that as well. But, this is a very this is very interesting first podcast. A pilot is sometimes the hardest thing to do. Some people say that the Twin Peaks pilot is a good pilot. I always had a hard time getting through it. I found it a bit like it was a bit long, is a bit but maybe as I get older I need to check that out again, cuz there's nothing like gaining some wisdom and looking back on something that you found boring in the past. But I think that's another thing I just need to talk about is like, has Instagram Reels and TikTok and YouTube and and Settlers of Catan Online Cities and Nights edition, which I play to unwind sometimes, has that all made, did I have a, was I better equipped against boredom when I was younger than now that I'm older? That's a question I love to ask myself. Or was it about the same? I was diagnosed with ADHD in high school, and I still believe that that diagnosis is still here. And sometimes you can read a book on ADHD and you'll be practicing all these tips that a book will give you, but then you'll finish the book, and maybe this is an ADHD thing, but it's hard for me to go back and read the book or read tips because it's like, oh, I already know that. I knew that. I always want something new, but what about something borrowed? Something, you know? Yeah, I gotta start rewatching things. But sometimes I do rewatch things every couple of years. I feel like there's some movies I like to rewatch. Jingle All the Way being one of them. I like to watch that about every 5 years. Home Alone, Muppet Christmas Carol, Little Shop of Horrors, Muppet Treasure Island, uh, Mulholland Drive, Wizard of Oz. I got rid of my Letterboxd account. It just, I don't know. And you know what? It's so weird. And I just think this is just like internet brain sort of thing. I have been trying to read more the past couple of years, like literally the past 2 years maybe. And I've been reading that book I was talking to you about. I've read some other ADHD books. Getting Through a Christmas Carol by Charles Dickens. But like sometimes when I'm reading these books, I was thinking to myself like, dang, I wish that there was like a letterbox equivalent that everyone was on and I could write like funny things about this. And I don't think Goodreads is there yet, right? Um but I hope that it will be one day. But uh so but I that's just such a like poisonous part of my like of the brain these days. Like I don't need letterbox. I don't need to tell everyone my opinion on everything ever. That's why I've limited myself to about 3 social media platforms right now. I've limited myself to TikTok, to Instagram, and Gmail. Well, and Facebook Marketplace. Facebook Marketplace is one of the greatest things of all time. Maybe has the best algorithm. It's just showing you like everything you could ever want. I saw someone in Ontario was selling old McDonald's the restaurant slide. It said Hamburglar slide, and it's about like $3,500. $3,500. It might still be up there, but if you look, it said, but the Hamburglar is not included in this. So you're essentially just buying a slide. It's just like a standard green slide, which I found very interesting. But there are collectors for stuff like that. So maybe this person knows the right price, and like maybe that's the case. And maybe I should really do more research before I kind of am so overly critical. I gotta stop being so overly critical and give this guy some grace. I want to give some more grace, honestly. That's one thing I truly need to do. I need to give this guy who's selling this McDonald's slide without the Hamburglar more grace. I think the world would be a better place if I showed a little more grace. I'm finding as we record this, when you're hosting a podcast, such as the Canadian Entertainment Podcast, and you want to make it a meaty podcast, and I'm not running out of things to talk about, but I do need to grab a glass of water. So why don't you sit on tight, hold tight, while I go grab a glass of water, because, wow, they make it look easy, eh? And radio people who did this before, who sat in the booth and just talked for hours, they probably were like all these podcasters when podcasts came out in 2005 or something like that. They're probably like, oh, they have no idea what's in store for them when you get super thirsty when you're doing this. They are not gonna last. Maybe they said that, but maybe they didn't. But anyways, hold tight. I feel like I'm getting a little lightheaded. I need to go grab some water right now, and we will talk to you very, very soon. Okay, we are back to the inaugural episode of the Canadian Entertainment Podcast. I just had around 2 cups of water, and I'm feeling a lot better. Sometimes I find, and maybe this is an entertainment thing or just a human thing, that sometimes you could drink a lot of water and feel like you haven't got the effects of the water yet. You still have really dry mouth. You still feel incredibly nervous. You still have a sore throat. You still are you still have an itchy ankle, as I do right now. I was itching my ankle. And then other times I feel like, yeah, it's literally, it's you could have one glass that could change your life. So what's up with that? Maybe if you're in the field of science, you could reach out and let us know about that. But you know what? I'm feeling pretty good about the first half of this episode. I felt that this podcast is necessary. I feel like a lot of people are interested in the Canadian entertainment industry, so I would love to give a peek behind the curtain of the life of a Canadian entertainer. I perform live. I produce content. What more could you ask for? I occasionally have a meeting here or there. Sometimes, the one nice thing about Canadian entertainment, though, is other places I feel like you could get your hopes up in a lot of different avenues, in a lot of different, like, places, right? Like television networks or something like that. But here in Canada, there's about 3. So you could get your hopes up in doing something with one of the big 3 or 4, 3. And if it doesn't work with all 3 of them, you're just like, okay, well, we will go back to school. We will learn something new. And now it would not be a Canadian entertainment podcast without talking a little bit about the things us Canadian entertainers, I'm not saying all, but a lot, do during the day to get by. I've done a lot of different things with my life. I have attempted to become a postman. I have attempted to become a plumber. I've worked at the Liquor Control Board of Ontario. I did a small stint with UPS. I worked at Jane Bond Kitchen once for about 6 months. I was a coat check person at Starlight Bar in Waterloo, Ontario. I was a delivery driver for Collective Arts. I could say that now because yes, I worked at a deli uptown Waterloo. That was my very first job besides paper route for Kitchener Waterloo Record. Did you guys know you employed a grade 5 to deliver your papers? Or sorry, for my American audience to make this more universal, a 5th grader? Well, you did, Kitchener Waterloo Record, just so you know. But yes, I worked at a deli, Value Mart, uptown Waterloo, Ontario. So there's always something, and it doesn't have to be this way, but I've found it to be this way. There could always something be in the background. Oh, I worked for a long time for a production company, driving around actors, talent out of Newmarket and Barrie, Ontario. That was a fun time in my life. So I've essentially done it all. I worked in a mailroom. For a few years. I got promoted to IT. For God's sakes, I got promoted to IT, head of hardware, at a major law firm, and I could not handle converting the law firm over from Windows 8 to Windows 10, and it wrecked me. I don't have any IT skills. Just sometimes you find yourself in a position where you literally are working in a mailroom and they're like, do you want to run hardware in this major law firm in Canada? And you have to say, yes, I will do it. And I tried getting back in there, but back in the mailroom, but I couldn't, unfortunately. So I've done just about everything. I also do surveys on Angus Reid forums so I could get Amazon gift cards. It takes about literally 20 to 30 surveys to get a $25 to $30 Amazon gift card. So you really have to hustle. I did cameos. I made $100 in cameos. I don't know. I just always feel really. I don't know why I feel embarrassed promoting it. I have had fun making them, but I just gosh, it's just I don't know. You know what? Because the thing is, I think, oh, I promote it, and then people go, and then it's like, I don't know. I made some insane cameos, but it's fine. It's fine. But sometimes I get so in my head about making cameos, and I work like an hour on a cameo or more. No, probably an hour was my max. Yeah. But they're a lot of fun. Don't get me wrong, they're a lot of fun. I don't mean it, but I'm just like, oh, I don't know. Cause I don't know. Cameo's great. Don't get me wrong, but you know, because yeah, I guess it's like, oh, is there interest? You know what I mean? But there is some interest, but maybe I, maybe all the people who want to get, you know, but maybe I should promote it more. But maybe I don't know, right? But I've had a good time in the past with Cameo. What a lovely invention, Cameo. Thank you very much. But you know, Canadian entertainment. Um, Nothing wrong with a little Canadian entertainment every once in a while. A couple weekends ago, I went to Toronto Island and I went to Centerville there. And what an inspiring place to be. When I was a kid in grade 9, Resurrection Catholic Secondary School, people have asked me before I'm on the wall there somewhere, okay? And I won the Buddy Award, if you can believe it, all right? Kitchener. It's on the border of Kitchener and Marloo, University Avenue. Some people say it looks like a mall. That's how the Catholics do it sometimes, all right? I don't know. But whatever. Um, yeah, when I was in grade 9, grade 10, what I wanted to do, my big game plan was to move to Florida and work at Epcot in the Canadian Pavilion. But I never accomplished this. Because things change, I wanted to do different things, right? But that was my idea. I wanted to do that for a bit. I know that out there in another universe, because I kind of do believe in multiverse thing, even though that's been done to all hell. Not in the Canadian film industry though, but in the overall film industry. But maybe there's some Canadian films about a multiverse that I'm not sure about yet. But so there's a version of me out there working at Epcot. I don't think I can do it anymore. I think I might have aged out or like too many responsibilities at this point. I don't know if that's, well, I don't know. It'd be cool. But yeah, so I was at Toronto Island anyways. It was inspiring. It's like, oh my gosh. And I've thought about this before. I've been very inspired by theme parks. I'm like, oh man, it'd be so awesome to build my own theme park. Inspired by Bingaman Sports World, Canada's Wonderland, Universal Studios. Been inspired, and it's like, and sometimes I do think to myself, we might need a couple more theme parks in Canada, and that is under the Canadian entertainment umbrella. Theme parks specifically with more than just a roller coaster. That's what I liked about Toronto Island. There's a really fun spooky barrel ride with lots of animatronics and stuff. We need more animatronics in Canadian entertainment, if I'm being real, and I know a lot of people agree with me on that. We need more animatronics in this Canadian entertainment landscape, and that is just absolute facts. I've been thinking about that for a long time. And sometimes I wish I was an engineer or I knew anything about science or drawing. I wish lots of times when I'm just sitting around, I'm like, I wish I could draw a new character. A new character that's like as beloved as Mickey Mouse or Kermit the Frog. That's what I do actually think sometimes. I get so jealous of Mickey Mouse, Kermit the Frog, Donald Duck. I think, why didn't I think of that? What can I make something like that? But I can't draw too well. But you know what I actually heard? I did some research into Walt Disney. First interesting thing is that his dad, where did he grow up? Goderich, allegedly. So there's a little Canadian. Oh, and where did one of the Warner brothers grow up? Oh, London, Ontario, allegedly. So it all comes back to Canadian entertainment. At the end of the day, that is 100% true. Entertainment starts in Canada, and then it goes everywhere else but Canada. But at the same time, there's some amazing things in Canada. Let's not forget the Trailer Park Boys, Tom Green Show, Schitt's Creek, Kids in the Hall, Family Feud Canada. Let's not forget, there are some great things. Obviously, a lot of people leave Canada to go elsewhere. Sort of like Walt Disney's dad, the Warner brother from London. But anyways, what I was saying is that I found out not too long ago that Walt Disney didn't actually even draw Mickey Mouse. It was but his partner who ended up only working on a few short films. You can look that up. I would hate to look it up right now, but that is just 100% facts. That is facts. So but I feel like back in I don't know. I would hate to just I don't even think he didn't even do anything, but I want to be able to draw. Like, I don't want to do what Walt Disney did. I want to be able to draw and create a wonderful character. But the thing is sometimes like I could picture an amazing original character in my mind. Right now, I'm kind of picturing some sort of purple puppet that's purple, and it is kind of monster looking, and it has for some reason there's a bone going through his head, so I think but like not in a weird way, but like kind of like how Wilma from the Flintstones has a bone going through her hair, like in a tasteful way, but it's a monster. So I think there's something with that. But the thing is like sometimes I'm like, I wish I could create something like this. And then I think to myself, oh, well, you could type it in on an image generator, but I don't want to do that. I really don't. I don't want to type it in on Midjourney, even though there are a number of AI Instagram accounts where they like combine like South Park with The Simpsons, or like I don't like the Muppet ones anymore. They kind of creep me out. Lots of AI creeps me out. There's one though. There's like a Simpsons one where the AI. I think it's AI. It looks like actual Simpsons episode. It's getting good, but I don't know. I don't want to do that. But some people do say, and maybe this will be looked back at sort of like when there's a famous David Letterman clip where he's talking about Bill Gates. And he's like, what's this internet crap? So maybe this will be looked back at and people will be laughing at me. But sometimes some people are like, if you don't embrace, you have to embrace AI or you will be left behind. And I don't know. But I have to wonder to myself, was there this much pushback to the internet? But I think the problem is that a lot of people are like, hey, these AI things, they're using a lot of other things to learn. And then, yeah, but I don't know. I actually was driving around a couple days ago and I was listening to some CBC program, Ontario Today, and they had a program about Canada Post, how they might be cutting down hours or days or something like that. And a Canada Post driver came on and he said something like mailing is actually for a lot of people, is actually a lot cheaper than email. Because you have to buy a computer or a smartphone. And I never really thought about it that way. But it makes me wonder if there was a lot of pushback to email when that started. You tell me. I'm sure this is going to get lots of Gen Xers, lots of baby boomers. I feel like you will love this podcast because what Gen Xer or baby boomer has not tried to pursue Canadian entertainment, or perhaps what Gen Xer or hasn't been interested in Canadian entertainment? Everywhere around the world, the people ask, what's up with this Canadian entertainment thing? And I am the person to break the news to you about what it's all about. Because at the end of the day, this is the Canadian Entertainment Podcast. It's a podcast about pursuing Canadian entertainment. And I am your host, Ben Stagger, and perhaps we will have some guests on eventually. But I feel remarkable about this first episode. I hope all the recording gear worked. I hope the camera worked. I hope the microphone worked. All Canadian made. All Canadian made. I make sure everything's Canadian made by Canadian entertainers, handcrafted, right? Handcrafted by Canadian entertainers. All the podcast equipment is handcrafted by various Canadian entertainers. Jim Carrey made the camera. Canon, John Candy inspired some of my writing. And of course, who could forget William Shatner? Oh, he made the microphone. No, he didn't. But it would be cool if he did. And I think this is a good place to leave us because how could I talk this whole Canadian entertainment podcast without talking about my latest interest, Star Trek, The Next Generation, which I am now on season 4, and I started a couple months ago, and I am so proud of myself because I usually never watch. I've been so distracted by everything that sometimes it's hard for me to sit down and watch a long form thing, but I've been watching it. I've been loving it. And isn't it interesting that this is a Canadian podcast and we're talking about Star Trek, and Star Trek, where is it filmed these days? Oh, well, none other than a little country I like to call Canada. And it is Star Trek right now is the base holding this Canadian entertainment industry together, and all I gotta say is yes. And I am a Bruins Trekkie as well. I don't know where my Boston Bruins hat is, but You can't put us Canadian entertainers in a box. It doesn't have to just be Maple Leafs. And doesn't just have to be Kitchener Ranger. I love the Kitchener Rangers. I support the Toronto Maple Leafs, but you can be a Bruins fan and a Trekkie and be pursuing Canadian entertainment. That's just facts. You can also have celiac disease. That is just facts as well. Anyways, I really hope you enjoyed this. I'm very proud of this. I hope all the recording gear stayed intact. I hope this was enthralling, entertaining, and everything else. You guys are the reason I do this. Thank you very much. Let's keep this ship running, and I'm so proud of each and every one of you. Thank you for joining me on my Canadian entertainment journey. My name is Ben Sieger. Please rate this as high as you can on all podcast platforms. Listen to this on all Canadian podcast platforms. We gotta get, and that's part of the industry. We gotta get more Canadian podcast platform. But anyways, thank you so much. This has been one of the joys of my life. I really have to get better at a few things, but we will work at it together. But again, this is what it's about, right? And thank you very much for letting me talk to you. This has been one of the joys of my life, and I think we will be talking very soon. Hopefully next week. So long for now. Thank you very much.